Hey guys, ChrisImmortal here. This is going to be a video for new Ghost Recon Phantoms players about how to move around like you know what you're doing. Because I noticed by watching new guys play at PAX, and by watching some videos by newer players, and by having experienced this myself when I played at first, nobody really knows exactly how to move around and angle the camera really well in this game. So I'm going to show you examples of how to excel in close quarters combat by properly positioning your guy, your camera, and moving around right. So the first big thing that pretty much no new players do right off the bat is pressing Q to change shoulders. By default, Q is the button in your controls, and what it does is it switches the camera angle from your left shoulder to your right shoulder. This is really important for you to use because it pretty much makes you go around corners with the camera first instead of your guy. And this is huge for close quarters combat, and in general moving around you need to be pressing Q to angle yourself properly. If you try it out in game, you'll see what I mean. You won't have any of those awkward situations where you don't feel like you can go around a corner because you can't see where you're going. So one quick tip I have is always be ready to dive into cover. Let's say I was just going around minding my own business in Ghost Recon Phantoms and suddenly one of these dummies started shooting at me. I'm like running and he's shooting at me. The best thing for me to do is not stop and try to shoot him back, because I would already be dead by the time I got my ready time if he was a good player. So what it's better to do is know that you're being shot and just dive. And now I'm over here, let's say he can't hit me, then I can go and get him and have the advantage on him. So for diving, there's two kinds of dives. I'm on hold shift to sprint, by the way, but here are the two dives. One is just a flop, which is, alright, letting go of shift and pressing control, that's a flop. But then what you really need to learn how to do is be holding shift and with your pinky also hold control, and it's a dive, good for dodging grenades and quickly getting out of gunfire. And you get the cover advantage and you take them out. Next thing I'm going to talk about is pretty much the role of Peeker's advantage in Ghost Recon Phantoms, because it actually plays a huge part. In firefights between pieces of cover, sometimes you have an advantage by being the guy who snaps out versus the guy who's hard-scoped, and also in close quarters combat, moving up and walking up on people, you can get a huge advantage. So the way this works is pretty much if you angle your camera angle so you can see around a corner without your guy going around the corner, you can then walk around the corner and destroy an enemy before he can react to you. Because on your screen you've already lit him up, so there's really nothing he can do. And I'll go over how to counter that next. Now let's say you're in cover on a corner and somebody's coming to walk up on you, and they're really close so you can't really snap out and get them. They'll be like shooting down on your head if you snap out of cover. The best thing to do is not be attached to cover. You detach from cover by pressing spacebar, back up and strafe out so that you're actually walking up on them. A big thing in close quarters combat is turning the tables so that you're walking up on your opponent instead of having them walk up on you. Because if you sit in your cover, no matter what your reaction time is, they will get you when they come around the corner. You may hit them, but you will actually just get an X, a not registered shot, because on their screen you're already dead. And I think a lot of people mistake this for server lag, but it's actually just standard video game latency. If they come around the corner shooting when they knew exactly where you were based on the third-person camera before you saw them, you're toast. So you need to try to be the first one to see them. That's what close quarters is all about. So here I have a real close, quick example of backing up from cover saving your life. As you can see, if I had stayed attached to that wall, I would have been the one to die there. I already took a lot of damage, but it just shows how making this your instinct, backing up out of cover to get the guy, is super important. Last thing I'm going to talk about is how to punch people to death in Ghost Recon Phantoms. It's kind of a weird system. It makes sense once you understand it, but it's still kind of inconsistent and screws you over sometimes, but it'll also save your life in those occasional reflex situations. Basically, you want to get your enemy in the camera space that is not occupied by your character. So if your character's on the right, you want the enemy to be in the left space. And then you want to get your crosshairs over them if you're not running. like if you walk up behind them while they're sniping, you get your crosshairs on them. Your crosshairs will turn red. You'll get the spotted box around the enemy, and then you can punch them. If you're running, you can try to figure out where your crosshairs would be, line those up with the enemy, get the spotted box, and then throw the punch. It can be difficult, and you can sometimes deal stupidly low amounts of damage, so I would say don't melee when you don't need to, but I mean, I've gotten some really sick melee kills before when somebody surprises me and I happen to be running or something, I just whack them. So, yeah, just be careful with it though, because it can be pretty unfair sometimes with the damage. So that wraps up my noob's guide video on how to do close quarters combat in Ghost Recon Phantoms. Sorry I was a bit lazy with the clip collection. I didn't have a lot of time and I had to spread this out over some time, so I don't have clips for everything I was trying to say. But yeah, you get the idea. Close quarters combat is really about trying to have the peeking advantage, walking up on people, being ready. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Maybe you'll play better from it. If so, let me know in the comments. Bye-bye.